it's kicking in. It's kicking in. Leaves are falling. Right. Rates of, well, no, yeah, we're probably on the decline. If anything, going into the holiday season, I think is typical. Why are you working out so hard? Territory. Not for the dogs who are out there getting it, but I'm talking about the guys who are just a little more like, let's just be real. They don't care. They're just not into it. They don't see the point. Not that they have to, but it's overstepping the line when instead of just being not, what's the word? I'm not thinking agnostic. Instead of just being like, unresponsive to what someone else is doing, they've got to put it out there like, oh, come on. Really? Where's your mashed potatoes, man? Where's your, oh, yeah, look at this guy. 4 deviled eggs, and then you're eating the whole turkey. Like, hey, man, have some stuffing. What are you doing? Have some pie. Right? And, I guess it's not like it's a rule. It's not so black and white as to say, like, crap, Sam said if I eat pie, I'm a piece of shit. No, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm definitely gonna diet around Thanksgiving, these few weeks coming forward, right? I'm probably gonna make sure that I'm maybe a little bit lower on my carb intake for like 2 days prior. So if I tell myself, all right, I'm gonna estimate, this is about 150 grams of carbs worth of blueberry pie, this is about XXX or whatever, and I'm gonna make sure those numbers get tracked, and then sure, that'll end up being like a bit of a refeed, but it's not completely out of the question of still being, on track with what I'm aiming for, right? So it's never so cut and dry as, oh man, I cheated on my diet today. Oh, the whole thing's over. Throw in the toilet. We're done. Maybe I'll try next year. A lot of people do that, and it's because not only do they give themselves an unrealistic expectation, like they think if they want to get in shape, every day of their life has to be like a Rocky Balboa, just jogging, eggs drinking in the morning, running, abs smacking workout, and that if they do anything short of that, well, then it's just not even worth trying. Which doesn't even make sense, because there are definitely people out there like that, but they've worked themselves up to being able to handle that, and for whatever reason they just want to do it, and it doesn't have to be like that. That's where I'm a little upset by what we'd call the it's just the nature of like magazines and everything with older bodybuilders. Somebody like Elite Priest is going to tell you straight up, well, man, I eat a bunch of shit, got super big in the off season, and then, well, I dieted down, and whoop-de-doo, right? Whereas it's a very safe look to say, like, yeah, we only ate chicken and rice for, this day, or this day, and then we whatever. I got a trash truck in front of me. I don't want to crash into the guys over here. But like they only portrayed the idea that all they ate was like just chicken, rice, and broccoli and nothing else ever, and that was all they ever did, as if they never had what we'd kind of consider just collectively some junk in the mix, right? And so what I'm saying, my problem with that is that just sets the tone that that's what's necessary, and anything short of that, well, you're a freaking loser, and that's not cool. That's not how it is. You can calorie count your way into having some, you can handle some treats. I'm not trying to like make it seem like I don't get serious when I'm dieting, but you get what I'm saying, right? They just it's like a fake strictness when they're trying to present it, so take with that what you will. So I'm not gonna I'm sure I'm gonna eat some food Thanksgiving, but I'm gonna make sure it still aligns with my overall goals by tracking everything and watching my weight on the scale, and doing your cardio doesn't hurt. Even if you don't track your calories at all, doing your cardio on the regular is it's never going to be a bad thing. I got a comment that basically said, like, this guy's doing an hour of cardio. What the hell's wrong with him? You know, and to that I read as, that's not cool. That's a poor response, I feel. But you know, now I'm just getting into a totally random ramble. I don't even know what I was saying at the beginning of that. But plan for today with chest. I'm going to see how I feel, because last chest day was not really super heavy. I mean, I did a couple heavy sets of upper chest biased converging plate press, which were pretty good. But I don't want to repeat the exact same workout, so I'll see. Because I feel like incline Smith or dumbbell bench, like heavy dumbbell bench, I kind of want to reserve for days when I'm like, everything feels totally perfect and solid. Because if like every chest day I tried to wrench as much weight as possible, then I'm going to start getting tweaks and my shoulders are going to get, you know, I'm going to get random things. If I was in a bulk, well, then that's the whole point. But dieting down, I got to be a little more intentional with throwing in some light squeezing days, just to make sure I don't get any, like, I don't want to say fatigue, but just damage buildup, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I need a certain amount of stress on my actual muscle, because that's the whole point. Like, that's the inducer of everything, right? Muscle maintenance, just calorie burning, whatever kind of what's the word, myofibular fascia stretch effect. Like, you know, it's a lot of it is kind of arbitrary when people, you know, get into the real specifics, but that's the point. But if in the process I end up wrecking my tendons, and then my knees really start hurting, and then my shoulders, like something, it's like I gotta, like every time I throw it around in a circle, like I've got cracks or pops. Well, that's not a good approach either. So it's somewhere in the middle. You know, you want to, if this is where you're doing too much and you're getting into that danger zone, if you're actually continuing to hurt yourself, then just, you gotta stay right below there. You know, not too far below, or else you never get anything done. But you don't want to exceed that line, or else you're going to hurt yourself, and then you're going to give yourself so many setbacks that you don't get anything done. So it's that kind of middle ground of going, you know, not exactly too far, but just far enough. Which is, it's like a feeler thing, you know. If you're going a bit too heavy for a couple of weeks and you start to feel some extra aches, well, maybe that's just your cue, and you're saying, okay, that might be a little much. Let's increase my light squeezing work and, you know, see how it feels after that. I think so many people are so quick to jump to like, oh, I'm overtraining. I got to take a few months off, or I got to take a few weeks off and reset my system. You know, barring like the super advanced lifter where he's like, you know, I don't think anybody's overtraining to that degree, at least in like a general sense. You know, when I say I don't think anybody's overtraining like that, it's like sub 1%, sub 0.1%, I presume. But now I'm just getting into a total ramble, so I can guarantee this lift will not take more than 45 minutes from set 1 to set pumped, which would be the last set. So I guess we'll just see. Maybe I'll, I don't know. I'm not so picky about my rest periods, so whether you think I'm missing out or not, I guess, you know, you tell me. But how I've always looked at it is I just need to, you know, take a breath for as long as is just necessary before I'm ready to hit it again. You know, my heart rate's back down. I'm not breathing so heavy. You know, I can sit and go, okay. And I can tell I'm kind of back at a certain baseline. So, you know, I don't have a timer. I just kind of know when that is. Like, if it took 2 minutes, that's fine by me. And if I'm doing like side delts and it only took 45 seconds, that's cool too. But I know there's not going to be anybody in there, so the only thing that could potentially stop me from having a good workout would be, it'd have to be like an earthquake. It'd have to be like a freaking I was about to say Mach 7. No, what's it, level 7? I don't know the grading scale. It has to be something crazy, you know. So let's just stop talking about it and go make it happen. All right. I got 3 plates on the Smith, and I'm in a very good headspace. So this, and I'm warm. So this should be a good start. Okay. All right. Let's just do a one and done and move on. That was good. But yeah. Shit, 3 plates is not supposed to feel that heavy. No. Come on. No, there we go. That was good though. Yeah, shit. Let's go do something else. I wasn't sure this would be the plan, but I think today I want to do an alternating style of chest day. Not necessarily because it's like, you know, I have a scientific study that's telling me alternating between heavy pressing and lighter squeezing is like the most effective, but I know it's different than what I normally do, and you know, it's like it doesn't require that much calculation to know if I bring it on incline Smith and then move over to a chest press and do single arm squeezing burnout reps and then go back to maybe like the chest press right behind me and do another heavy set, that back and forth is going to work well, right? I mean, it's you know, it shows up in everything, right? A heavy ass breakdown followed by kind of the, you know, vocalist lead just with, and then back and forth. You know, that might be too specific of a reference, but let me go nuts here. Left side first, 10 reps each side, and then I'll go from there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Whew. Yeah. Let's go back to that. Or not back, but let's jump around behind me to that chest press and then go from there. Heavy Smith, light squeezing press, now back to a heavier press. And given how 3 plates on the Smith felt, these 3 definitely won't be nothing, but I should be able to manage it a bit. Come on. Okay. 2. Oh my goodness. All right, I think I want to keep up the 1 set per movement pattern for today. So let's go to a pec deck. And that's my only rule for this lift, which I didn't come into the gym thinking, but am doing now, is heavy movement, squeezing movement, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then, next will be a fly, so that's a little different, but that's the theme. And guess what? I think I'm gonna be pretty damn pumped at the end of it. All right, standard weight, but I'm just gonna make sure I hold it at the top. That's kind of the back and forth. The heavier sets are gonna be pretty heavy, kind of quicker reps, and then I'm making all the squeezing sets slower holding, if you catch me. And all that does, it's not exactly what it is, but it's making it so every set is very different. And that's what I'm aiming for, right? Because if I hit the enemy, which in this case is my pecs, with, 7, whatever number of totally different attacks, Smith, cross-body press, converging press, pec deck, maybe cable press, cable flies. Maybe if one of them didn't click today, well, the other 6 or the other 5 definitely will. So sometimes that's how I think about it. It's not exactly doing what you think is perfectly correct, but running through your arsenal, busting out a bunch of stuff, and then saying, oh, all right. If this fly feels like incredible, better than it's ever felt, well, then I'm going to scrap that whole back and forth idea and just do 4 more here. That's an if. But until then, let me just make this shit happen. All right. Okay, that might have been a little too heavy to count that as a light set, but that was still a good squeezing one. Now let's move on. So not too heavy, because if I go too heavy, then I just end up turning this into like a front delt hunch movement. So I think 120 is about right. And I know some guys like to take a few steps out in front and press into it, which I see the logic of, but I don't want to add any instability I don't need. So I'd almost rather just stay right in the center line of the cables, at least relatively close, and just bend over so I'm pushing down. So I'm not going to suddenly fall up and I can really put my body weight into the press. But that's not a rule, it's just a preference thing. All right. Okay. There we go. 2. 2. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of what I want to do next, because that felt really good, But I just said I wanted to try to do different stuff. Let me cook something up in my mind. Shouldn't take that long. For you, it'll be exactly 1 second. All right, I've got a plan. Cable flies, so let me drop this 1 notch, and I'll use, well, probably 70. No, definitely not the 120, that press. What about 80? Yeah. Flies followed by cable press burnout. I think that'll be a good combo. And honestly, this could very well be the ender set, just based on how that last set felt. There we go. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, all right. Yeah. That's all. Let's pose down, see how we're looking. So that was definitely a quicker one for sure. All right, so what was that total? That was Smith, press, pec deck, cable press, fly press combo finisher. So 6 total sets. And I don't feel like I would have gotten anything else out of a 7th. You know, I don't think it would hurt, but, and I'm not motivated to lower my volume because I don't want to do another set. You know, I'm not coming in here thinking, oh, let me do as little sets as possible just so I can be done and leave. Like, that's not the motivation. It's a little more like, you know, if you don't have, it's like if it's not contributing to the overall level of progress, then I think it's kind of a better idea to condense your effort into not the minimum sets required, but just as dense of a package as you can. So if I sat in here and did 20 sets of fluff junk, you know, let's say I lifted, let's say instead of 1 set of 3 plates for, what was that on Smith, like 10 or something? Let's say I did a plate and a half for 20, 3 times. You know, it's not the same, right? Very good Dorian Yates analogy. If you hit a stick of dynamite with a pencil, it doesn't matter how many freaking times you hit it, it's not going off, right? But if you hit it with a sledgehammer, that stimulus is freaking intense enough, right, that you actually get the intended result. So that's kind of the logic I'm following, if you catch my drift. But let's see how we're looking. And I'm getting a grasp on getting the lighting a little freakier in here. I'm using some off the ceiling techniques instead of direct downlight. But I think we're getting there. Like, this is a totally different level of leanness than I've had these last few months. Especially, especially peak bulk as well. Like, I don't get too bulked, you know, I'm not like perma-bulked soft, but like ab definition basically out the window. Now it's actually a little more apparent. So even just like standing here, no pose, I'm feeling good. In the sense that I can see the intended results of getting leaner that I'm aiming for. So, yeah, we're getting somewhere. But let's run through a couple. Set a baseline. Oh, man. All right. Let's see if there's any grain in a most muscular. A little bit. Just a little. Nothing wild, but yeah, we're getting somewhere. So this is what I'm talking about. Like this line going up both sides of my chest. Like it's almost like a separation of lower to mid to upper pec. Yeah, shit, I kind of got it. The craziest example I've ever seen is, not a hidden one. It's Mr. Columbo. Like just fucking, I don't know what the hell he was doing training wise, or if it was just genetic. But like if he sits here and hits a chest flex, it's like you're looking at a shoulder. You got a lower delt, mid delt, side delt, or however you want to look at it, but just in the chest, which is pretty nuts. But yeah, we're getting there. So now I just want to run through a bunch of random ass poses. Yeah. So all it took was dieting down to day 70. I think today's 78, maybe 79 of cardio, counting some calories. Honestly, the first month doesn't really count that in terms of like difficulty, because it's not that I was dieting. It's more so that like I just wasn't bulking, if you get what I'm saying. So instead of eating a ton of food for a month, I ate a normal amount of food, and that still brought me down weight-wise. But yeah, there's this is one thing I keep seeing a ton. It's videos on gymflation. It's we're kind of spoiling ourselves, because everybody who ever like hits a 315 bench or a certain kind of squat number, it's on our phones all the time, as though that isn't like crazy. Like I remember the first time I hit 315, I was still I was still in high school, because that was when I was doing I was diving on a college club team, which is just like one step, well, not above, but just instead of on a high school team, you do a club team sometimes. And I remember I did I don't know why I did it, but like we had a dry land practice where they just put a diving board right in front of a resi. Yeah, that's the word for it, a resi. Just a big ass foam landing pad, so you can do like a double flip, and if you land kind of wonky, you're not going to hurt yourself because the foam breaks your fall. So we did like an hour and a half of that, and then there's also a gym connected to it at the school. So I busted out 315 for 2 after a solid warm up in the what's it called? I remember the gym had like a name. It's called like the I don't know. Whatever. But I think that's. All it is we're just kind of getting things highlighted on social media, where it's like we can see the top 0.01%. So I would. I'm not too freaked out about it, but of course that's coming from me. So I'd say, don't freak. Don't freak if you're still in the like the mid 200 range in terms of 1 rep max. And honestly, I if you're asking me personally, I'd say you probably shouldn't even worry too much about your 1 rep max capability, because it's you can do it for its own sake. But what really gets me excited is if I'm in an off-season growing phase and I can suddenly hit, or not suddenly, but gradually go heavier and heavier for a 10 rep set, right? Or like for an 8 rep set. Like adding weight to a set is my kind of, progressive overload that I really care about. Not so much strength for its own sake, but doing more and more intense sets. And instead of, caring about getting stronger, I end up having to go heavier, or at least being able to go heavier, because now I'm more capable of that weight than I was before, right? Like I've been moving around 315 on incline for a while. Obviously, I'm dieted down, so a little bit of a weaker state. Oh, sorry. So I'm in a little bit of a weaker state. But it's definitely, well, let's just say it feels very different than when I was first able to do it. I was definitely playing a little too heavy. But no. All that's to say is, as long as you can track your own kind of training, level ups, even if they're small, that's what's the most important. Not exactly where you rank in terms of the entire freaking world, like that even matters, but more so like, are you better than you were 2 years ago? Are you ahead of the game from yourself whenever, right? And if you are, well, shit, man, you're good, right? Because you're on track. And then you don't have the I'm sorry. Then you don't have to play the mental game of like, oh, I'm not at the same level as this guy. I don't think that's very much fun at all. But I ended up staying at the gym a bit later than I thought I would, because I ordered a pallet jack to move some of that equipment around. And the Arsenal guys have a whole new line of stuff where, I don't know if it's going to be a Christmas kind of lineup schedule, but there might be a couple new pieces getting thrown into the gym, so I was making a little bit of space. Really, I was just kind of reorganizing because I moved a bunch of leg equipment to make room for that little like second level. So I'm sitting there with a freaking pallet jack. Oh, sorry. And just trying to hoist these freaking machines around, and each one's like 600 pounds. So, I didn't hurt myself, but I'm probably going to feel my freaking, like I can feel this bicep is I'm feeling a little something. Part of it is just probably residual soreness from my last arm day, but I gotta freaking be careful. You can hurt yourself in the most unexpected ways. I don't know who it was, but I remember there's a story of a guy who like tore his bicep because he fell down the steps and he just wanted to catch himself on the railing, and then that got him. It can happen. It can just happen, man. Right? Freak accident. So that's where, I still remember what it would be like to do a backflip on like the ground, or I can still do it on the diving board. The diving board's not so risky because it's very like slow and not abrupt impact and force. But right now I'm trying to stay in my own lane of what I do physically. I'm used to heavy loads, but they've got to be controlled. I'm certainly not. I'm not prepped for any agility work. But apparently I am prepped to go to freaking bed early tonight. I did 4 extra minutes of cardio today. So maybe that got me. Maybe doing 34 minutes instead of 30 is making me tired at 6 p.m. And it's going to make me want to go to bed early. But no, that's all. So plan for tonight. Go post the video for yesterday because I forgot to do it earlier. Get some food in my system, cook some ground beef, and then I will see you for a back day tomorrow. So, I'll see you then.